Alrighty, so let's get started. Let's see. So today, PHP form, we're going to, like I said, give the form a brain, so it'll actually do something with what we've created. First thing we need to do is go into inner server, and we got to make sure there's certain changes that have been done, because we got to make sure that your PHP is set up correctly to do what we're going to do. Okay, so go to inner server.
What if I don't have inner server?
You better hope and pray that it works. Okay. I don't know. Who are you with again? Dream something or? Yeah. They should have something similar.
That I've seen on the other ones too, so.
They have control panel, right? Yeah. C panel? Yeah. So just hop into your C panel. You should be able to see something similar. Okay. We just need to hop into the version of PHP and make sure that a certain command that we're going to be using is working. Okay. If you can't get into inner server, do what you got to do to figure out your login.
Yeah, figure out my login.
I feel like every time I try to log into a site, I have to reset my password. I should just keep a spreadsheet.
Well, we're only expected to memorize, 50 different passwords nowadays, and change them again every 30 seconds. Yep.
I keep my password the same.
Cybersecurity.
I just add an exclamation point.
Yeah.
Sorry, Austin.
This is what I get.
That looks just like ours, so
okay.
that you should be able to do similar.
Okay.
Oh my God, I'm all about using.
But the way your host set up, it may already be ready. We'll see.
Guess I'll double check.
It's pretty obvious. It's my favorite boy band.
So I've found that some students don't have to do this and some do. It's kind of weird. It's a weird crapshoot. So we'll just make sure that everyone is set up the way it's supposed to be. And this is good to know anyways, because if you're ever doing PHP stuff and certain things aren't working and you're getting weird errors, it could be that just the language on your server isn't set up correctly to do what you're trying to do.
And then go to the C.
Yep, C panel. Yep. So under web hosting, under your one, click on your domain.
I don't know, I forgot because we to get it free, we used our
student email. Yep.
So how do you find the student email?
Where is that?
You log into your portal and you click on the email and your email.
It's not actually in Brightspace, it's just on the first student portal page?
Yeah, go to Office 365. It's on your right hand side.
Yeah.
You're not logged in yet. That's why it was throwing me off.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
I don't know how to check this.
Your password for that is usually the same to the password for your portal.
So PHP has a bunch of different versions. PHP has been around forever. If you care, it stands for, there's two different ones that I've seen. Personal homepage, but the other one is really weird. It's like preprocessor hyper something. I don't know. I can never remember because it's just really weird. Hypertext preprocessor. Okay, so don't you mean HTTP or HPC or something? Because that starts with an H, right? So I guess recursive, whatever that means, backwards. I don't know.
An acronym for
it? I don't. What's a recursive acronym? Yeah. Okay, so I'm not the only one who.
What is a recursive acronym?
So I mean, acronym obviously PHP, right? But what the crap does recursive mean? I don't know. I guess we could ask Google because Google's kind of smart. Recursive.
repetition.
Characterized by recurrence or repetition. Okay. I don't know. Anyways. So yeah, it's either personal homepage, which I think, that's pretty easy to remember, or hypertext preprocessor, which doesn't make sense with the PHP. Okay. Now, PHP is a server-side language, which means it won't work locally. Okay, so you can type out HTML and CSS on your computer. You can hit the lightning bolt and brackets. You can run it. You'll see what happens. Can't do that with PHP. Okay, you have to upload it to your server, and you have to access it from your domain to test it. Okay, Well, I mean, you can install local PHP servers on your computer and stuff, but there's no reason to do that because we already have inner server, whoever else you host with. So that's the big one. So you can't be typing in brackets, doing your thing, hit run, and then expect the PHP to do stuff. It won't. You have to upload it to your host using FileZilla, right? And then you have to access it with your domain. You have to access it online for it to work, because the server's running it, not your computer. Okay, your computer is not a server, can't run PHP. But inner server stuff is a server, it has PHP installed on it, so it will run it. Okay, I learned that the hard way. Man, when I first started PHP, it was horrible. But I'm not going to go into it, but just the point is, I'm sitting there trying to run it. The kids had already learned a little bit of PHP, so they're like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, what's your problem? Like, it has to be on a server. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay. It was great.
Just a quick question, you're on
Yeah.
cPanel right now?
I am.
So, wait, what are we doing on cPanel?
We are going down to a PHP section.
Oh, okay, because I just got back into my inner server.
Okay. All right, so once we're in, we're scrolling down. Let's see, we're looking for PHP version right here. Select PHP version. I don't know what that is. Looks like a knife or a compass thing, or I don't know. Yeah, we'll go a little bit less violent. Sounds good. It's a meter, guys. So select PHP version. That's where we want to go. All right, now, current PHP version, mine's 5.6. I know this works, so you can set it to 5.6. Probably if you went a little bit higher, it'd be okay. I think by default, they set it at native 5.6. Okay, that's for some reason doesn't work. And it doesn't give you what you need. Okay, so just if it says 5.6 native, just click the drop down, click 5.6, and do set as current.
I don't even have that option.
I'm not sure how you got to where you are, because I was not looking at the screen.
Austin to the rescue.
Into my inner server,
Oliver, what I would do.
But no, the native thing, I don't have the native thing.
Okay.
It's not on my drop down.
Then you're probably going to be all right. You can choose 5.6, all right?
Yeah.
It's all right. I think the native is probably an inner server thing, but I don't know. And
So do we have to go through and like check some of these and check some of them now?
just one.
Okay, and then,
Do you have a switch to PHP options here?
Yeah.
Good, because that's where we're going next.
perfect, thank you. 5.6?
Whoa. Hello. Go back.
Oh,
Ah. Wretchedness.
awesome. Thank you, thank you.
Good job, Austin. Way to save the day. All right, so select PHP version. Sorry, mine just like died out. All right, so 5.6 is what we want. Now, this is all the stuff. These are like, I guess you could call them plugins for PHP. Gmagic, I think I used that a long time ago. That handles images and compresses them and things. MongoDB, that's a new database that's coming out. Like it's an alternative to MySQL. Got JSON, which we will be using, so if that's not checked, make sure it's checked. But basically, my point is like all these are just different things that you can use that will let PHP have more functionality.
So all the ones that are checked is 5.6.
Yeah, so when you choose 5.6, it should just kind of select all the defaults, and all the defaults should be fine for what we're doing.
What happens if you just select everything?
Yeah, that was my question.
Then I guess you're hyper and amazing. You can do whatever the heck you want. You're like,
crashing?
I don't think so. These are just, to me, these are just like add-ons for a browser. This is like add-ons for PHP. It just extends the functionality of your PHP.
Then why not just check the thing?
Yeah.
No reason not to, I don't think. Just, I personally, is there a select all? Because I don't see a select all, because I don't really want to be like one. That would take 20 minutes of my life that I wouldn't want to spend. All right, so we want to go to switch to PHP options. So make sure it's 5.6, not 5.6 native. Okay, make sure you hit set as current. Okay, and then we want to go to switch to PHP options. These are a little more self-explanatory. Okay, the allow URL f open, that needs to be on. Okay, if it is, great. If not, make sure you turn it on, because this is going to be what will cause us the error.
It doesn't have any of that showing. It just shows the PHP version native 5.6 and then the warning. That's it.
Yeah, mine's a little different too.
Drop down 5.6. Current. Okay. Yeah, so the native doesn't give you all this for whatever reason. It said it's current. Then once that loads, then go to switch to the options. So there's a lot of like default things here that you can mess with. We're not going to go over all this stuff because, to be honest, I don't even know what all this stuff does. But the allow URL f open, make sure that's on. Okay, display errors, I would recommend that you turn that on as well, because what that'll do is if there's any errors in your code, it'll display them on the page. So it's really, really good for debugging and development. Once it's working though, it'd be a good idea to come and turn this off, because you don't want people going, like if something happens and your site crashes or something, the last thing you really want is a bunch of debug errors coming and like showing up in front of your users, because that's just going to confuse the crap out of them and they're going to go, what is this? Okay, file uploads, like we're not going to do any of this, but this is just other things like FYI. Like if you were going to do something like do a script where it would accept uploads to your server, that obviously needs to be turned on. You can set up like limits. Let's see, log errors is another good one. That'll create a log file on your server when there's errors.
Yeah, you got a whole lot of options there. This is all I have. That's it.
I wouldn't care too much, because it's like most of these you're not ever going to even touch. But this is an important one too. So the upload max file size. So if you take the server side class with me, we talk about how to upload things to your host and stuff, and that's important because we had to get in here and mess with that because we were trying to upload 5 megabytes when the limit was like 2, and it was freaking out. Yeah. But we're not going to do any uploading or anything. Just the main thing that we care about are the 2 things that I talked about. The F open, okay, that needs to be on, and then the display errors, I would turn that on as well, just so you can see any errors on the page and you don't have to open the log file, because that can get a little annoying. Okay, and that's all we got to do there. Next thing, Google reCaptcha. Yes.
Is that PHP thing that you just had up? Mine doesn't have nearly anything.
Did it have the main ones I talked about, the F open and the display errors?
Yeah.
Just make sure both those are on. That's all you care about. Make sure it's set to 5.6.
Yes.
You're good. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about all that other crazy stuff. Oh yeah, the date time zone. You may want to make sure that's set.
See, I don't have that.
That's okay. We're not doing any time stuff, so not a huge deal. Okay, so reCaptcha, you've seen them. The reason why we're going to be doing this is because I used to teach this without a CAPTCHA, and then I would put up my form online and I would get spammed like crazy. I'd just get a bunch of fake emails from bots that are just scouring the web looking to be jerks and spam people. So reCaptcha is Google's CAPTCHA, and because it's Google's and Google owns the world, it's pretty good. The minute I started using reCaptcha, I don't think I've ever been spammed at all. And so that's the point of a CAPTCHA, is just make it do, basically asking the user to do something a bot can't. And so therefore the bot can't submit the form, and therefore you can't get spammed.
If there's like crazy spell this thing.
Yep, those are the CAPTCHAs.
John Mulaney just gave his opening monologue on
Yeah,
SNL.
yeah,
You saw
SNL,
that?
yeah.
That was so funny.
Was it about
It was
captchas?
about the
Really?
captchas, yeah. Like he was the
It's like, I
original.
gotta prove to a robot that I'm not a robot. You ask me something only a robot would know. Like, spell this. Like, ooh,
Yeah.
is it a 3 or is it an E?
I know. Yeah.
When I did, it now says I'm missing the MySQL extension, which is required.
What? Let me see.
Yeah, like when I just went right here.
We're gonna have to select the domain or anything.
No, for those things, let me check right here.
Oh, yeah.
It's been like since yesterday for sure.
I've never used Site Publisher. What is that?
It's to kind of build the web
Sandwich
page from.
from.
So you
Talk
have
about
one
one
rate.
roommate.
Well, not from, but from
Divorced
anything,
parents.
even.
Shall we?
Sci-fi
What does it say again?
Like, I don't know if
About
this was like
SQL.
a project someone was doing, or like they were trying to wonder who they were gonna move in with.
Okay.
This is like the demographic. It
Yeah,
looked
then
like
go
a
back to
female
PHP,
barista, no
PHP
kids.
version.
She's patient, multitasking, friendly person.
Like Harry Potter.
Then you got
Goosebumps.
this
So
dude,
I would check
his
anything
dad,
that has to
he's
do
a
with
little bit
MySQL.
jaded by time. His kids
35 to 40s.
likes golf. Single dad.
You may just want to do a search like Command F and type in MySQL and anything that has MySQL on it, check it.
Send that hat.
Yeah, but down at the lake.
When everything's checked, and then I don't know if that's gonna work. If not, we'll look at it when we're done with this.
What does S email mean?
Okay, so yeah, captchas are one of those like necessary evils. Like it sucks to have them, but it's worth it. Because if you don't, you're gonna get spammed and you're gonna get spammed hard. And that's not fun. When you're always just getting a bunch of emails that are just junk. Okay. So if you don't have a Google account, repent and get one, but you all should have one. We're kind of in this world where everyone has at least a Gmail. Okay. So we're going to click on Get reCaptcha. Yep. Just upper right hand corner, Get reCaptcha. Okay, now I already created one. Let's see if I can remember how to delete this.
So is there like specific settings on it? Because I have one that's active right now.
If you already have one, you should be able to just kind of add your domain to it.
Well, my domain's it's active on my domain.
Yeah, then you probably already have it set up.
I set it up like through Muse. So like I just needed the secret key so nothing in the server was touched.
Okay. Yeah, you should be able to just use what you already have.
Okay.
There should be no issue there. All right, so make sure you're logged in. If not, it'll ask you to. Okay, and I'm going to register a new site. Okay, and the label, I'm just going to call it CAPTCHA. Like, it doesn't have to be anything too crazy.
So we're using the B2, right?
Yep.
So what's the difference between that and the invisible? Like, what?
I think the invisible one you don't ever see.
Why
I don't know.
is that not more popular then?
I don't know.
Would you set it up the same way? on
Probably.
the server?
I've never really played with this one. I'm just wondering how the heck that would work, because it says it does it in the background. Well, it has to have something to validate you, and I'm wondering what it would do. So I'm wondering if maybe this is for more. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see if maybe we can get more info on that. So let's see. Okay, so it looks like, all right, you probably have to set up it a little bit different than what we're going to do.
Okay.
It looks like when the user clicks on an existing button, so basically instead of them clicking on the I'm not a robot button, you'd have to set up your own that would then call out the API and then do everything.
So you could attach it to the submit button then.
Probably.
Okay.
Now I won't be able to help you with that because I've never done that. But if you want to go ahead and try, go for it. Because I'm going to tell you though, from what I've seen, Google's documentation on this is horrible. Like I had to go out and watch some YouTube videos and look at some other resources to get this to work. Because Google, for some reason, didn't think it was very important to give you all the code to get this to work, which was really dumb. But so anyways, so we're going to be doing reCaptcha version 2. Okay, the domains, you need to set up all the domains this is going to be on. Oh man, I should have done another one because I got stuff using this. Anyways, so those one kids, davekid.net.
We only have the one though, right?
Yep, I'm just putting in all the domains that are going to be using this.
And mine is giving me the, that restricted.
Yeah, your registration, any subdomains. Yep. So yeah, you don't need to put www or http or any of that. Just put in whatever dot whatever. Yeah.
No. So I have like 2 domains. Will it be like the same, or is this just like a blanket captcha?
It's a blanket captcha that you can use on any domain you put here. Yeah. So if you know for a fact you're going to have captchas on both domains, yeah, put them both here. You'll want to do that. You don't want to have a separate captcha for each. Okay, so we'll accept the terms. Send alert to owners. Sure. Why not? I don't know what alerts. Okay. Yeah, you would definitely want that just in, if there's any issues, any errors or things like that, they'll let you know.
Looks like they give you the code. HTML template.
Yeah, they give you about 30% of what you need. So, and it may exist somewhere else that I couldn't find, but yeah, it's kind of frustrating. So, all right, analytics don't really care about. We do care about these site keys. Okay, and the client-side integration. Okay, and see, this is where it's pretty horrible. Like the server-side integration, we're going to have to write a few lines of PHP to get this to work, but they don't give it to you. They just kind of expect you to talk developer language and understand exactly what's going on, and it just gets annoying. Okay, but keep this up. Where it gives you the site key, the secret key, the snippets and such. Keep this up because we're going to be doing that in a minute. All right, now we're going to hop into brackets. Okay, this is what we did last week. There's my HTML form. And let's see. There's my stuff, the dolphins, all that fun stuff. Okay, we're going to create a PHP file in here, and we're going to call it, well, you can call it whatever you want. I'm calling it mail.php. So inside of brackets, file new. And I'm going to save it out into styled form. I'm going to call it mail.php. And this is where we're going to put all the code. Just like an external JavaScript file, just like an external CSS file, we're going to put all the PHP in here. I'm going to split this for now because I want to be able to hop over because we got to do some stuff to the HTML and then we got to write in the PHP, so I'm going to have it kind of open in both for now.
So you want the style HTML on one side and the PHP oh, that's not an HTML.
Yep, PHP is on one side, the HTML is on the other side. We're not going to do any CSS today. That was all last week. So, but before I start writing any of the PHP, I do want to get the HTML ready because there's a couple things we got to do. All right, so Google's documentation is pretty good at the beginning, right, where it tells you to add reCaptcha to your site, you know, what the keys are, the client-side integration. It's just where I find it really lacking is the server side. It just kind of says, well, this is what you need to do. Good luck. Good luck figuring it out. And kind of annoying, right? So we'll do the client-side integration first. Okay, so we're going to grab this one right here. This is the JavaScript file that gives you access to the API of reCaptcha. The API is just application programming interface. It allows you to access different services and configure them. Like YouTube has an API, like basically Twitter, Facebook, they all have APIs. So if you want to take a service that exists and kind of mold it and have it do what you want, you're going to have to access their APIs. So I'm going to copy that and throw that into the head of my HTML file. It's kind of like what we did with jQuery when we did the Lightbox. We're just taking all the JavaScript that's going to be necessary to do this CAPTCHA and we're embedding it into the page so we can use it. Okay, next thing it says, put this snippet at the end of the form where you want the reCaptcha widget to appear. The reCaptcha widget is that little box that you check that says I'm not a robot. So you're going to take this code and you're going to put it where you want that to show up. I'm going to have mine be just right above the submit and reset buttons. That seems to make the most sense to me. Your site key is going to be different than mine, obviously. So if that's different, don't worry about it. This, however, will be exactly the same. Now, if I run it, you'll get this. Error for site owner, invalid domain for site key. It's mainly because we're not online right now. So it's not going to work. And I'm not giving it the keys. I'm not giving it everything it needs to be able to work. But at least it's showing up. And I want a little bit of space there. So I'm going to put some break tags there. So you can at least test it to see if it's showing up and giving you an error. And this is one of the few times in life where errors are okay. Error means it's working. I misspelled rescue. 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 Okay. Next, we talked about this a little last week. So in the form we have some attributes, ID, that's so we could call it with the CSS and do things. The method is how the information gets processed, but we need to change the action. Action is what file runs when we click on submit. Okay, right now I put in a pound, which just made it kind of a dead link. Well, we want mail.php to run. So when I hit submit, it's going to go out to mail.php and do everything that it says in there, which currently is nothing. But this, yes, the path needs to be correct. So if you had like a folder called PHP and you had all your scripts in there, well, then it would need to be php/mail.php. But they're in the same spot. The HTML and the PHP are in the same spot, so I don't have to tell it to go into any folder or anything. I'm going to do things a little out of order that I usually do. I don't know. It may end up crashing and burning, or it may end up being okay. We'll see. I'm just going to kind of do it like a section at a time, and we'll edit the HTML the way it needs to be, and then we'll go do the PHP for that section, and we'll just kind of go back and forth. Where before I just kind of got the HTML completely ready, I think this other way will be a little better. We'll see. All right, so we added the JavaScript file, the API file. Okay, we've said action's going to be mail.php, and then we came down here and added the widget. And that's it for now. All right, so I'm going to move this over. We'll start on the PHP side now. So I don't know whether this is the best way to do it or not, but this is going to be the equivalent of kind of throwing you in untested waters and saying, hey, good luck. I'm going to throw a bunch of programming concepts at you. All I can tell you is just ask questions when you have them. To me, that just, I don't know. If you're going to learn to speak a language, you dump yourself into the country and you just start trying. And that's really the fastest way to learn it. It sucks. You feel stupid. You make a ton of mistakes, but you will learn the language pretty quickly. So I don't know. It's kind of how we're going to do it here. Okay, just like there's HTML tags, there's PHP tags. And that's an opening PHP tag, and that's a closing PHP tag. So less than, question mark, PHP, and then question mark, greater than, closes it out. All right, so like in JavaScript, you create variables with the keyword var, and then you set up some variable, and then you set it equal to something. PHP is a little bit different. The variables are with number sign, or not number signs, but dollar sign. Why? I don't know. Just how they set it up.
You can use those in JavaScript too, though, right?
Yeah. Yep, because JavaScript, yeah, but I'm talking, it uses the var keyword to kind of define, hey, this is a variable.
Okay.
Where PHP is just dollar sign. So I'm going to set up a variable called secret key, and it's going to hold my secret key.
Do spaces matter here?
Nope.
Okay.
Is it okay if we
It would matter here,
Cool.
you know, if I had a space and secret key, obviously, but like between these and stuff, no. What'd you say, Austin?
Is it okay if we see your secret key?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to end up changing it anyways, so. All right, so anyways, so secret keys up here. Okay, I'm going to grab that. Copy it. Come back here, paste it in. Yeah.
Is this the same CSS from last week, or is
Mm-hmm.
this like a new one?
Yep, same one. We're just continuing what we did from last week.
I've been looking at the week 3 video one, the one from last week, so
Week 3's video.
yeah.
Doesn't exist unless you're watching the one from a long time ago. Is that the one with,
It's
what was it called? I can't remember.
styling the HTML form, week 3.
So like week 3, I used to have a video here that talked about like WAMP and things like that. I got rid of it because it was way outdated, and I've completely changed this assignment. So
I'm trying to make sure that 10 in the wrong brain for D and 3 because
so two's videos are fine.
okay.
Yeah, I mean if you went through those are fine. I think they end up doing a little bit more than what I did, and that's fine because it just gives you more to learn. But 3 though, yeah, that video was taking people off the path and off the path very far. So I had to get rid of it.
Yeah, 2 HTML files and 2 different CSS.
Yeah, you only need the one. But in the videos, did I do 2 HTML files? Because I don't think so. I always stuck with the one and just styled up the form.
I think the HTML was asking different questions than the Dolphin one.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
I
different
think
form.
my CSI were different, yeah. Our CSSs were different.
Okay. All right, so I grabbed the secret key, go back to that, threw it in there. So now secret key contains my secret key.
The K in your secret key is capitalized.
It
That
is.
doesn't matter, right?
It does matter. It will matter. So if yours is lowercase, just remember it's lowercase. Variables are definitely case sensitive. So these are completely different things. So secret capital key and secret lowercase key, they would be considered completely different variables in any programming language. Yeah.
You might have just said this, but I couldn't hear. Is there a reason why the K is capitalized?
Just camel case. That's what it's called. It's just common practice with coding when you have, because variables can't have spaces in them. Like that would be a variable, like that wouldn't work.
Right.
So just to make it easier to read, they'll usually have the first letter of the first word lowercase and then capitals as it goes.
So if you didn't put the K capitalized, would it matter?
It would.
Okay.
It's not that it wouldn't work. It's just when you call secret key, when you call that variable and you use it, you need to make sure that everything's the same. So, I mean, the main thing is like that's a lot easier to read, right? This is fun than this is fun, right? I mean, you can still read them, but it makes it easier to read. It's the main reason people do it.
My piece is fun.
Yep. Yeah. Sounds Russian or something. All right, so next variable I'm going to have is response key. Okay, we'll talk about post in a minute here. Check your spelling on all of this, because it does need to be perfect. And I'm pretty sure PHP is very specific with these semicolons. You got to end every line with the semicolon. If you don't, it will throw errors. Okay, I'm not going to say too much about this. It's not totally critical that you understand this line, but you should at least get an idea of what it's doing. So reCaptcha response is the response that you get from the API of the reCaptcha from Google. So post, what we'll do more with post, but post goes out to the form and it grabs, you use post to get the values of what people put on the form. So if I put Dave is in for the first name, I'm going to be using this post array to get out there and grab the value Dave, what I typed in. So this reCaptcha response is just what Google responds with, and it helps you know if they've been validated or not.
So would this be like the first step in creating, you fill out the form and it creates a database so you can like download it to a CSV file or whatever?
Yep. Yeah, post is what you use to grab what people typed in. So then you can then either put it in a database, email it out. Just depends on what you want to do with that information that they put in. Okay, and the reCaptcha response is just, that's Google's response with the reCaptcha. It's nothing that anybody typed into the form. It's just the response that you're going to get, whether they're validated or not. Okay, and PHP has a way to log IPs. Actually, let's do capital IP. And the way you do that is server, and those are underscores, remote. So that's a built-in PHP command that will basically ping the server or ping the connection of the user and get their IP. So this is how, well, this could be a way like those jerks at Freenom block us. Because every time we go to their site, they log our IP, and then they have an if statement in there saying, if this IP hits our servers too many times in a certain amount of time, block them. Then they have another if statement saying, if this IP shows up, deny them access.
Do you not check it? Or do you just automatically block it if it
Oh, it's done by the computer, I'm sure. I'm sure there's no, I don't think there's a human there checking it out, but who knows?
That makes more sense.
And whether you use double quotes or single, doesn't really matter. Not in this case anyways. You could use single here if you wanted to, you could use double here.
And those spaces between the like plus or equal sign and the dollar sign and all that, does that matter?
No. Yeah, I could have it like that if I wanted. But, you know, if I had a space here, that'd break it, right? Space here, that would break it because it's expecting this full word, this full string, whatever you want to call it. Same thing here. If I had like a space here, that would break it. Space here, though, shouldn't. It ignores kind of the white space. All right, so when the double and singles matter is when you have quotes inside of quotes. If you start out with a double quote and you need to have quotes inside of there, you're going to use single. Okay, but anyways. So, setting up URL. It's going to be fun. Typing out these huge URLs is always a great time. Nope. I got my notes. There's no way in heck I memorized all this. All right, so this is going to be the URL that your browser is going to go out to and basically pass along all your information and say, hey, Google, this is all the information I've got from this form. Verify it. Google will process it, it'll do its thing, and then it'll say, yeah, it is a human. And then it'll return and say, yes, they're verified, let them do their thing. Okay, and what we have to do is we have to pass some parameters, I guess you could call them. We have to pass some parameters to Google. Okay, the first thing, so it goes off to google.com reCaptcha API site verify. So that's basically what's going on, is it's going out to this, this site to verify your site. And then this little question mark is saying, okay, now I'm going to start passing values to you. Okay, and the first value we're going to them is the secret key. Where's the secret key stored? Yeah, right up here, right? So we got to give them that variable. Okay, so secret is going to be equal to secret key. Okay, and
Make sure there's a space, or there's no space between.
There is no space in here. If you put a space in here,
Okay.
it will blow things up. Because if you have spaces inside of URLs, that breaks everything. So yeah, there's going to be no spaces in here.
Oh yeah, got it.
Okay, so we're basically taking what's stored inside a secret key and we're putting it inside of this variable. So secret, this is something that this URL is expecting, right? So secret is going to be equal to my secret key. And now I got to give them more information. So the ampersand is kind of like, okay, now I'm going to give you some more stuff. And, right? So here's the secret key and something else. And the next thing we're going to give them is the response. So the response is going to be equal to response key. And if this is all seeming weird, it is, because this is reCaptcha's way of doing things. This is how you work with their API. You wouldn't do this with any other API. I mean, other APIs may function similarly, but this is the way that Google has said, okay, if you're going to work with our API, you have to do it this way. So we're just kind of bowing down again to the almighty Google gods and just doing what they tell us to. Because if we want reCaptcha to work, this is how we have to do it. Okay, and the last thing we're going to give them is the remote IP, which is the user's IP. The IP is important mainly for like location and stuff. Because remember we checked that little box to say, hey, email me if there's any suspicious stuff going on. Well, if, you know, Google realizes most of your users are from the United States, they kind of go, okay, you're a US-based company or a US-based person or whatever. And then if you start getting hits from Singapore and China and stuff, then they're going to email you and say, hey, just be aware you're getting all this weird activity on your site. And then you can start saying like, no, I was in China for the week, or no, this is messed up. These are probably hackers. And then Google will be able to do what they need to do. Whether they do anything, I have no idea. But okay, anyways, be very careful on this line. Just make sure you didn't misspell anything. Make sure the variables that you're using are exactly the same here that they are down here. I got my capital K's, capital I and P, and then capital I and P. Okay, lowercase user. Check all your spelling. Okay, but you know, if you did this wrong, you'll get errors and you'll be able to fix it. It's okay.
It's throwing me off because yours is highlighting the variables in different colors and mine's not.
Your quotes are?
Good old Saban.
Yeah, I'm using Sublime.
Oh.
Oliver's a rebel. He has to go his own path.
That's not for sure. I love it.
And who knows, I may have misspelled something. We'll find out soon. Okay. All right, now we're going to set up another variable called response. So this is going to be the response that we get back from Google. Okay, and we're going to store this in a variable. So this is where we had to do the fopen. We had to enable this because we're using the fopen here. So file get contents. Okay, this is a built-in command. That's why it turns blue here. It's a built-in command that PHP has. And it's going to take that URL. So it's going to go out to that URL, and then it's basically going to save the response. It's going to get all the contents of that response, and it's going to save it in this variable here. So file get contents, what that does is it goes out to this URL, which is this. Okay, and then it gets the contents. It goes out to that URL, gets the response, everything that Google gives back, and then it's going to save that inside a response. Now this is going a little too far, but the response is in a thing called JSON, which is JavaScript object notation, and PHP can't understand that. So we have to use another built-in function that PHP has to decode the JSON and turn it into something that PHP can understand. Okay, and so that's what the next thing we're going to do. So that we're going to call it PHP response. Yeah, I'll keep it lowercase. So PHP response, and it's JSON decode response. So it goes out to that URL. Okay, it uses this file get contents, goes out to the URL, gets the contents of this URL, what it gives us, saves it in response. It returns all the information with JSON. Don't worry about that. This isn't a JSON class. If you want to learn JSON, I think it's the object-oriented scripting class. We go over that pretty heavily with JSON. Anyways, so it returns it as JSON, but we need to decode it so PHP can actually use it. So we take what's stored inside a response, which is that JSON data, and then we use JSON decode, and then we save that in PHP response. So now inside a PHP response is the PHP like readable response that we can use. Right? You getting bit by the sharks? Are they eating you? Are they devouring you?
I'm not gonna say
They're
I'm-
circling.
I'm not
They're
gonna
circling.
say I'm zombie coding. But if I just copy what you're copying now.
I'll go back.
I get it. I'm not really. This is more reCaptcha. Like, if I were to say, hey, we're learning PHP today and to do this, we're not learning PHP today. This is not PHP. I mean, it is, but it's not. This is reCaptcha. So this is working with the reCaptcha API. This isn't really learning PHP. What we're going to do next, yeah, we're learning PHP. But this is more like, look, guys, this is all the rules that reCaptcha is set up, and this is how we get it to work. So whether you completely understand this or not, I mean, I want to say I don't care, but it's not that important to me. But the next stuff that we start doing is like, no, this is programming. You need to understand if statements. You need to understand loops. But this kind of stuff is like, we're working with the reCaptcha API. And this is just the weird hoops that Google makes us jump through. Okay. The main thing, again, we set up these variables, secret key, okay, the response key that we get from the form, the user's IP. We feed that information to Google. They take that information to determine whether it's a robot or not. Okay, we say, hey, go out to that URL, get the response, save it in response. The response comes back in JSON. PHP can't read JSON, so we decode it into something that PHP can read. And then we save that into PHP response. So basically, it's going out to Google saying, hey, are they a robot or not? And we save whether they are a robot or not inside a PHP response. That's really all that's happening here. So we need an if statement. This is where, yeah, start asking questions if you have it, because this is pure PHP programming here. So if statements are like, okay, they check for stuff. They say, if something's true, do something. If it's not, do something else. This is the backbone of programming right now. I mean, this is how you give a computer a brain and have it make decisions. So we basically have to say, if this PHP response is like, hey, they're good to go, cool, submit the form. If it comes back and goes, nah, they're a bot, then we go, okay, we're not submitting the form. Okay. So we have to say, if PHP response is, this is kind of a weird little, the dash greater than, but if it returns success, because that's what it, when after we decode it and everything, if it worked, it will say success. Actually, no, let's not do this yet. Hold on. Let's test it. Let's go step by step here. We're going to say echo PHP response. Echo is how you write things to the page. So yeah, let's do this first, so we can kind of go step by step. So what we're going to do is, you know, contact Google server, say, hey, are they good to go? And then we're going to write to the page what PHP response is, and so we can see what it gives us. So let's upload it, and let's test. Remember, this is PHP. It will not run unless it's on a server. So you do have to upload it and run it from your server to see if it works.
So we have to upload the full,
Yep, everything.
like, the thing we did last week as well.
Yep. Yeah, because the form, the CSS, everything. So, I mean, all we've really done is we've edited the HTML file a little bit and we've created mail. So, I can't remember if I have it already in here. I don't think so. All right, so I'm going to upload the whole folder. Probably the easiest way. And then if it asks you to overwrite anything, you'll want to. Well, you don't really need to overwrite the images, but for sure overwrite the HTML file. Now I'm going to go out to it. Oops, styled form, I think. Okay, I'm going to run the form. Okay, so now this should start working. Your CAPTCHA, your little, the widget, whatever. I'm going to check it. It may ask you to pick pictures, pick road signs, cars, whatever. But my Chrome kind of already, I don't know, it's already saved what it needs to save to know I'm not a robot. This all works behind the scenes. Then if I hit oh, okay. All right, so I have an error. So maybe it looks like I did something wrong.
It says this page is currently not able to handle requests like this.
Cool. That might be something with your host. I don't know. I gotta fix.
Like a subdomain, so would that have any?
Shouldn't. No. Just as long as the main domain that subdomain is on the CAPTCHA. When it asked you what domains you're doing.
I did a separate one just for this one, so I'll have to make them the same one then.
Yeah.
I have no idea why I can't find my folder in my FTP. It's not weird.
All right, so I have an issue on line 11-ish. It says, okay, can't be converted into a string. Line 11. Well, maybe I can't echo it? Oh, I guess once I decode it, I probably can't. So, all right, that's fine. So let me echo it before it's been decoded. So echo response. All right, so I updated the PHP. I think I ran into this last quarter and just forgot. But anyways, updated the PHP, so I'm just going to upload that. I'm not going to upload anything else. So I'm going to go into styled form, throw mail.php in there. All right, so check the box. Let's try this bad boy again. Cool.
Okay, so I changed the reCAPTCHA thing. So my domain and the subdomain is there, but it's still giving the same error.
Okay, take a look in a minute. So this is what you need to have. This is a JSON object. Okay, and just really quick with JSON, it gives you keys and values. Okay, so the first key is success. Second key is challenge TS. Third key is host name, and they all have values. Okay, so success is true. In other words, it worked. Okay, I got the response from Google server saying, yes, we're good. This looks like it's a timestamp. Yeah, the challenge timestamp. So this is when it timestamped when I went out there and tried to verify myself. Okay, and then it returns what the host name is. I really don't care about any of this. The only one I'm caring about is success. Was it successful or not? Okay, and if I go back here and I don't check this, okay, and I hit order, success is false. Okay, in other words, no, the box wasn't checked, and so if success was false, I wouldn't submit the form. But if success was true, then it would. Okay, and I did that, by the way. Remember, I'm echoing the response now. I'm not echoing. So when it gets decoded, it's no longer a string, and you can't print it to the page. So you have to echo response, not PHP response. Okay, now comes the fun part of trying to get all your guys to work here. Rachel? You can probably ignore that unless it's like not working because of it.
Yeah.
We'll take a look in a minute. This is gonna be fun, guys.
Okay, so all of this information, I just added the main domain, so it corresponds with this CPP and all this stuff. And then this is the error. Okay. And I haven't changed anything on here. It's just in the reCaptcha.
So the way this works is you shouldn't even have to put the domain.
I think it said, like, if you delete these little examples, just
Because I saw it somewhere where it's like it will handle all subdomains and everything, but I don't think it's going to hurt anything that you had it there.
Okay.
You heard it, David?
So this was set at 7 before by default. I don't know if that changed anything.
Show me your uploading. What you uploaded.
Find out for sure soon.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna stop the recording. Just recording nothing right now.